Hello again and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse and I am back for another hardware review video. This time we are taking a look at the recently announced and recently released Steam Deck OLED model. And this kind of came out of nowhere. It was just announced, 2-3 weeks ago as I'm recording this video. And I've had mine now for just under a week, but I've put quite a bit of playtime into it already. And I did a video on the original Steam Deck when I got that, year and a half ago. Everything's such a blur, I can't even remember. But the Steam Deck was really, really cool. Takes basically your handheld PC. It's got its Steam OS on it. It's got, your Linux Steam OS operating system on it. And then it just, it works with your Steam library. You can sideload stuff onto it if you want to. And everything that you have in the original Steam Deck is in the OLED model. And then some. So let's get into it here. It does come with a nice case. Now, there are a few different versions of this. You have a 512 gigabyte version. So they are keeping the older, I think it's a 256 version for the LCD model. But then you have your 500 gigabyte OLED model. You have your 1 terabyte OLED model, which is what I have here. And then they had a 1 terabyte limited edition or special edition. It was like 20 more bucks than the 1 terabyte model. It had kind of this really neat sort of translucent look to it. It had a little bit more like color accents here and there. I did try for that, but originally the pre-order process was kind of a shit show because it went live at like noon my time. What was it, on the 16th, I think, November 16th. And I was able to get to the page no problem. I was able to add it to my cart no problem. But then for like half an hour, even an hour later, everyone was having this problem where you would go to check out and it would ask you to verify your address, and it would just give you this whole rigmarole it'd give you some errors and you couldn't get it past that. And so there was just, and then it would say it was out of stock, but it really wasn't. And so I ended up I thought that the OLED or the special edition was out of stock. So I went for the regular 1 terabyte version, only to find out later, oh no, the store was just screwed up. There was some actually in stock. But you know what? It's okay. I didn't need the limited edition. I love the original. But here we have the case that it comes in. Comes in a nice little hard case, just like the original did. We've got a little, I don't even know what this is. Oh, cleaning cloth, I think, in that little thing here. But you got your place for your Steam Deck OLED. You've got, there's really not much up here. There's not really any pockets or anything. That's the one complaint that I do have about the case. They don't really have a pocket for cables and such. Now on the back though, they do have, just like the original hard case that I had with my original 512 gig version, they have this little cloth, this band back here. So you can kind of open it up and you can just slide your AC adapter in here that it comes with. You can just, have your cord and your AC adapter slid back here. I kind of wish it was more of a zippered thing so it was fully secure, because it could still fall out. But at least it is kind of a way where it does use the kind of indent for where, between where the handles are on the Steam Deck. At least they're using the space, but I wish it was just a little bit more secure for your power adapter. But enough of the case, let's look at the actual OLED itself. Now this thing, what's really cool about this is, now I will say right up front, this is not an updated Steam Deck. This is not like the Steam Deck version 2.0 that's a faster processor and more RAM, and no, it's none of that. It is basically what they did to the Nintendo Switch, except this one's a little bit better than what Nintendo did. So, of course, you have all of the original features, all of the original controls and functionality that you had on the LCD model. You've got on the OLED on the left side, you got your D-pad up here, you've got your select button or your whatever button, you've got your left analog stick, you've got a touch pad, and then you've got your main Steam button. This brings up your main Steam menu with all of your options. And then you got a little speaker down here. On the right-hand side, you've got your start button, your right analog stick, your face buttons, and then you have another touchpad. So you have a touchpad on both sides. And then you've got your, I forget what they call this. It's basically like a little quick button. And this brings up like a list of your quick features. So if you want to adjust the brightness, you want to change some of your quick settings for, you know, like, oh, I want to limit the frame rate or change a few other kind of quick settings, you would use this bottom right button below the touchpad here. If you want your full menu and all of your options, you use the left button below the left touchpad. On the bottom, you do have, just like the original, a slot for your micro SD card. So one thing I love about this is I had the micro SD card from my original LCD Steam Deck. Once I had this thing up and running, I popped it out of my old deck, slid it right into here. It didn't ask me for any confirmation. It didn't whine at me. It didn't complain. I put it in, it worked. I looked under settings and storage, and it just showed up. Like the games that I already had installed there worked. They were there. If I chose to install a new game, it recognized right away that I had both the internal storage and my micro SD card. And when I chose to install something, it would pop up a little thing. It's like, hey, which storage do you want to install it to, your internal or your SD card? And I would say, like, for a smaller game that I don't really need SSD storage for, and like, yeah, shove it on the SD card, save some space. So that worked great. Like, I love the fact that I didn't have to reformat it. I didn't have to worry about doing some weird things like if it was a Nintendo console, and you know how frustrating that can be to get content from one system to another. This just worked. On the top, you've got your right bumper, right trigger. You've got your power button right up here on the upper right, and that one's got an orange. I think the old one was just black. But you got your power button up there. You've got a USB port. You got your cooling vents up here. You've got a headphone jack, your 2 volume buttons there up and down, and of course your left bumper, left trigger. And then on the back, you've got 2 back buttons on either side. So you got 2 here, you got 2 here. You've got some cooling, more cooling vents on the bottom back here. And yeah, that is your Steam Deck OLED. So let's turn this bad boy on, and I'll just show it to you a little bit here. Oh, okay, so I was in, right, so I'm playing Brock the Investigator right now. And this is cool because Brock the Investigator, it has accessibility features built right into it. It has, you know, full text-to-speech, narration, that kind of a thing. So I can just walk up to... I'll turn it up a little bit here. So if I walk up here...
Barrier device. 10 to 1, this thing controls the barrier. No button, just some kind of key lock.
Okay.
Citizen, stand back. Access restricted.
Talk with cop. Guard. This topic is exhausted.
So I've already talked to this guy. But you see the accessibility features. When I installed this onto my OLED, the cool part is it literally picked up my save file right where I left off, It kept my settings, so I had all my accessibility features enabled, and boom, we had it running. So I was playing a little bit of Brock the Investigator on this thing. So let's go ahead and, just for now, let's go home. And I've been playing too much Switch lately. I've been hitting, I meant to hit A and I hit B. Really? Okay, let me... Right. So let's go ahead and... So if I go into it here and then I tap, so it's got a touch screen as well. But if I go ahead and tap the little X button, I'm just going to hard quit it right now because it's faster. So we just quit it here. We exited to the main Steam Deck interface here. But all of the interface stuff, it is exactly the same. And, oh, it's mad about something here. But, you see I've got all my stuff here. Got a bunch of games. And what I will say right away, the OLED screen is, it is really good. I haven't really played any games that supported HDR just yet. But this screen is supposed to fully support HDR lighting. So if your game does support that, not only do you get the deep black levels and great contrast and vivid picture of your OLED, but you actually get some HDR as well. So that's a really good bonus. Now, the other thing is your bezels around the screen are not quite as pronounced as on the LCD model. So you go from a 7 to a 7.4 inch screen. So you get a tiny bit bigger screen. You get a sharper screen. There are bigger fans inside, so the thing runs quieter. I don't even really think I've heard the fans spin up hardly at all, and if I have, it's been very minimal. But I've, it's ran quiet. It's ran cool. I remember on the LCD model, especially up near the top here where you have your cooling vents, it could get a little bit toasty up there. So, and I've played a lot of different games on this. I've played some Castlevania Advanced Collection, the Castlevania Anniversary. I've played some Extranium, some Wolfenstein, some Brock the Investigator. I've played a little bit of Vampire Survivors, Turtles. Now, granted, a lot of these have been kind of lower end games, so it hasn't been so bad. But I'm trying to see, where the hell is it? I got so many things up here queued up. I was going to see if I could try to, I didn't have it in my recent list. Oh man, RoboCop, I don't have that installed on here. But, so I've got, RoboCop Rogue City. But you can play The Last of Us on here, and I have not really tried it on the OLED just yet because I was going to, what the heck was I going to say? But I do want to try it on the OLED. Now, I have tried it on the LCD, so the accessibility features of that game also do work because Naughty Dog had put, they didn't use necessarily the PlayStation screen reader. They kind of used that voice and they made their own audio files just to make everything more responsive. So because they did that, that's one of the advantages, I guess, is that like you can get the accessibility features of that game even if you're not running it on Windows, because we're not running Windows here. We're running Steam OS. So again, I can bring up the left button here. I can go into all of my different options. I've got my library. I've got my friends list. I've got my settings. Everything is very responsive. If I hit the right button here, Again, here is some of your quick settings. Now, again, the one thing that I do miss, the one thing that I really wish that it would had, and I really wish Valve would finally just acknowledge, is I wish that it had some accessibility features. The Steam client for Windows, the Steam iOS app or mobile app for Android, iOS, and especially the Steam Deck, especially as these handheld PCs are becoming more of a thing, be they the Steam Deck or other Windows handhelds. I really want there to be like magnification options. I want there to be a screen reader for the dashboard interface. But it doesn't have that. So, there's a lot of upgrades here. Again, you get your better screen. You get a little bit bigger screen. And also because they have everything's a little bit more optimized, they put a slightly bigger battery in here. So you actually get a lot more battery life, especially if you're playing a lower end game that doesn't require a ton of resources. The old LCD model, I'd be playing something and I felt like I'd just get started in a game and I would have to go plug it in. So now, especially if you're playing like a game that doesn't tax the system as much, you can get a good few hours out of this thing, 3 to 4 hours, if not maybe a little bit more. And then if you're playing something more taxing, you might only get like maybe between an hour and a half to 3 hours. And again, it all depends on what settings you choose. Do you want to have everything maxed out? Do you want to have everything at a faster frame rate? Maybe you disable some of the graphic effects. Maybe you dim the display a little bit. Maybe you limit the frame rate, play at a lower resolution, and then you can squeeze a little bit more juice out of the thing. But like I said, this is a full-fledged handheld PC, so you're running a lot of, you're running the hardware itself, and then you're running, the operating system and the games. But like all of the updates, there's just tons of little optimizations that all make it feel better. They're like the responsiveness is just spot on. No problems there. And I am also glad to say that it is lighter. It is noticeably, when I took it out of the box and then I held my old Steam Deck in my hand, the OLED it's not a lot lighter, but it is immediately noticeable, especially if you have the old one to compare it to. So yeah, I'm going to basically repurpose my old one. I'm going to work out something with a friend of mine. He's going to get my old LCD Steam Deck, and now I have my OLED model. So what I will say is this thing is extremely comfortable to use as well. I just did a video for the Nitro deck, which is a kind of a little shell that you can slip the switch into. And for that, the right analog stick was just down here and it was just sort of uncomfortable. But I gotta say, like the button placement, the analog sticks, everything just feels good. Again, being a little bit lighter, being pretty ergonomic, it's easy to just, kind of grip my fingers around where the triggers are, the bumpers, they feel good. The D-pad feels pretty solid. The analog sticks feel really good. I was actually having a really good time playing some Extranium and Wolfenstein a little bit earlier. So yeah, if you do not have a Steam Deck and you are potentially interested in getting one, I would wholeheartedly recommend the OLED if you have the money for it, because again, the better battery life, the lighter weight, the much sharper screen, and even like I've seen little videos from sites like Digital Foundry where they found that, because of the way because of the way that they've optimized certain things, and because of the OLED screen and everything, and like you actually might get a little bit of a performance increase because it runs a little cooler. It runs just these little optimizations that Valve has made. The performance is ever so slightly better in some cases. Again, your battery life is noticeably better. It's lighter. And I gotta say, this screen is very, very good. I would say it's probably the best OLED screen that I've seen. I mean, the Switch OLED is actually really good as well, but especially you add the HDR lighting to it. And I think this one would edge it out a little bit. So, I mean, your Steam Deck, I could go in. Let's see. Let's just go ahead and let's just go ahead and play some Extranium real quick. I think the speakers are slightly louder too. Okay, and here we go. So we can go over here. I'm kind of looking through my phone and that, so it's going to be a little bit interesting to... Die, zombie. Let's see. Yeah, it's a little hard to play looking through basically like two screens at once. There should be a couple more dudes down here, I think. Okay, and then there's a zombie back here, I think. Okay. So I know we got to go through this door later because there's we need a key, but I usually go here just to clean it out because then by the time when I'm at the end of the level, I have less to worry about. But you know, I mean, even just like the right analog stick, it feels really good. Really don't have a problem at all playing this. I mean, granted, I don't have to worry about vertical looking in this game. But I could see definitely playing first-person shooters with this. If you like playing, like, I'm more of a keyboard and mouse person when it comes to shooters. But if you had to play a shooter like this with a controller, yeah, nothing wrong with it at all. There we go. They've added some lighting in here since I last looked at it. So you see the little kind of strobe effect they got going on here. I mean, this is a really, really cool. If you want kind of like a Wolfenstein era, Blake Stone-esque kind of a deal, I did at least 1 or 2 videos on this game. Extranium, definitely support this developer. It's just a really fun game. I like the enemies. I like the cartoony art style. Hey, buddy. Shoot you in the face. But I can pause it here, and then I'll just, like I said, I'll just go home here. Ah! I've been playing too much Switch. I did it again. God dang it. I did it again. And then I'll just go in here, and I'll just go yoink. So I just did that to be a little bit quicker. Normally, I would recommend that you just exit the game if you can, but again, it's hard for me to see when I'm playing through the phone screen, the phone, and going through the system like this. But yeah, I mean, there's not really a whole lot else to say. If you are new to the Steam Deck and you want one, I would highly recommend either the 512 or the 1 terabyte OLED model, because all the benefits, as I said earlier, are well worth it. If you had an original version, it's really up to you. I mean, if you really, really value OLED over LCD, like if that's just an upgrade that you feel you really have to have, you might want to consider it. But I would say the old one, like the performance is very close. It's very similar. Again, you're not getting a huge RAM or CPU or performance upgrade here. You're getting a lot of little improvements that really do make a good difference. But if you have an original LCD model, that is still a very solid machine. So if maybe you have another family member that you want to give your old model to, or maybe you work out a deal and you sold it to a friend or something, if you have a means to do something with your old LCD model, then maybe look into it. But I wouldn't say it is an absolute necessary upgrade. I'm just weak, and I'm like, I love OLED because, especially being visually impaired, I really like the extra sharpness and clarity that the Steam Deck OLED and just OLED screens in general add. So yeah, if I can go OLED over an LCD, I will typically take that every time. Now there is one feature. When I went into the Castlevania Advanced Collection, I think it was, I got a little pop-up when I went in, and it said that, oh, hey, this game might have some text that may be a little bit hard for you to read. And they showed a little shortcut that I really didn't even know about. I don't know if it had this originally or if this is something Valve added to SteamOS recently. But if you hold down the Steam button on the left here, if you hold that down when you're in a game, and then you also hold, I believe it's the left trigger, it brings up, now granted, this is really jank and it doesn't work super well. I've had a little bit of trouble with it working consistently, but if you hold those two together, it kind of does this weird little, like, kind of like a jerry-rigged zoom in kind of feature. And then you can use your right analog stick to pan around. The problem with this is, as I wish that if I did that, I wish I could hit both of them together and then let go, and then hit it again, the combination again, to toggle it off. But in order for the magnifier to be on, you have to continuously hold the Steam button and the left bumper, or the left trigger, and then you use the right analog stick. So you can't just turn it on and then use the stick and then hit it again to turn it off. Like, you have to hold the two, which is, again, especially if you have any dexterity issues, that's going to be a very big problem. But even as a convenience thing, that's one thing I like about, like, the Switch, is I can just double tap the little home button or double tap the Switch button. I turn magnifier on, I can pan around, I can zoom in and out, and it works pretty well. And I wish that the Steam Deck magnifier worked a little bit more like that. And to my knowledge, I've tried it a few times, and it doesn't seem to work. Uh-oh. I don't know what that did. No. So if I try it on the home screen, it doesn't work. I've never gotten it to work on a home screen, but I have gotten it to work in, like, the Castlevania game. I guess, so that's the closest thing you're going to get to any form of accessibility. And I remember when I looked at the comments from my original Steam Deck video, a lot of people liked my video, but I got a few comments of one person like, oh, just admit that this product isn't for you. All you people in your entitlement to, you should have accessibility for every feature or for every product. Yeah. If the company has a means to do it, and if they want to sell more products to more people, yeah, especially since Steam itself has many playable games by blind and visually impaired users. I can name a bunch of them. We got Brock the Investigator, we got Sequence Storm, got The Last of Us Part 1, we've got Forza, we've got Mortal Kombat 1. Diablo 4 is now on Steam, so if you want to play it there, you could play it, you could potentially play that. And then countless other indie games, The Veil. Yeah, like I said, I could go on, but like you see the point is that there are a lot of games on the Steam platform that are playable to blind players. And so it would really be nice if Valve would follow Microsoft and Sony and add platform level accessibility to Steam OS, to their Steam desktop client. Fix up their mobile apps a little bit more to work with mobile screen readers like TalkBack and VoiceOver. Yes, I am totally going to advocate for that every time. And no, I don't feel entitled to it. But again, it helps everybody. It will help Valve because they'll be able to sell more products to potential new markets. So yeah, I'm definitely going to keep advocating for accessibility. I just read those comments and I kind of laughed. I'm like, well, whatever, man. I hope you become disabled one day. You know, it's like, well, then we'll see how entitled you think that I am. So really, there's not really a lot else I have to say about the Steam Deck OLED model, other than all of the little improvements. You know, the lighter weight, the beautiful screen, the bigger fan to make it run quieter, make it run cooler. More battery life is a huge improvement. I'll take better battery life any day of the week. So, yeah, all of these little things. If you don't care that you don't have Windows on it, the Steam Deck OLED is a great buy. Because you look at things like the ROG Ally, Lenovo's, I forget what they call it, the Legion or something like that. All of those run Windows, which has its own advantages and even would have its own accessibility advantages potentially. But then you have the more overhead of Windows. You have, maybe some compatibility issues and some weird, like, Microsoft really hasn't natively designed Windows-wide control schemes for handheld PCs. You're meant to navigate Windows with a touchpad or a mouse and a keyboard. So there kind of has to be, like, a lot of these devices, these handheld Windows gaming PCs, they often have these kind of little overlays and little tools that sort of like try to make the touch screen and make your buttons work. So again, with this whole handheld PC market taking off, I'm really hoping that Microsoft themselves also really start to consider, like, take example from their Xbox consoles, having maybe a universal Windows command that would recognize, hey, if I hold these buttons and, click the Xbox button or click both analog sticks or something, and then it would bring up narrator or it could bring up magnifier. I could toggle that on and off. And whether I could do that on, in Windows itself or when I'm in a game, that'd be great. So yeah, I just wanted to give a quick overview and my first thoughts on the Steam Deck OLED model. I am very happy with my purchase. I'm glad I do have I'm glad I have a friend of mine who is interested in my old one. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have gotten this because I'm like, I don't need two of them. But I really wanted the OLED. And so thankfully, yeah, I was able to get one. And I'm enjoying the heck out of it so far. I'm going to continue playing Brock the Investigator so I can actually hopefully finish the game, as I've been meaning to do for a long time. But yeah, I've got and that's the other thing is, if you have a Steam library, you have many games from your PC, the vast majority of these will probably play pretty well on your Steam Deck. So it's not like you're buying a whole new console. It's not like you're buying a whole new system and you got to start from square one. If you have a Steam library, you've already got games to play. When I took it out of the box, the cool thing is I turned it on, I plugged it in to charge it, I turned it on, and aside from choosing my Wi-Fi, choosing my language, it popped up with a little QR code. I opened up my Steam app on my iPhone, and all I did is I scanned it, and it says, oh, okay, you have a Steam Deck here. And then it asked me on my phone, hey, do you want to use this Steam Deck with your Steam account? I said, yes, I did. So I didn't have to enter my username. I didn't have to enter my password. I just did the QR code, and boom, within like 3 seconds, I was in. And then I could just go start downloading games and adjusting settings and doing whatever I wanted. So yeah, that is my thoughts on the Steam Deck OLED. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give it a like if you did. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, twitch.tv/illegally-cited, illegally-cited.com, and right here on YouTube. Until next time, I will chat with everybody again later.